Today, we're jumping into the world of ultra endurance with a real legend, Kilian Jornet.
Absolutely. And he's making this big return to the Western States 100.
Exactly. 14 years after he won it back in 2011. So our mission today is to really unpack his training.
Some of his strategies are, well, surprising, definitely practical, but maybe a bit counterintuitive.
Right. We want to pull out those key nuggets. How does an athlete like that prepare for something so extreme?
It's a fascinating look, especially given the unique challenges he faces just based on where he lives.
Let's start there. The climate battle. He's in Norway, right? Where it's what, maybe 70 Fahrenheit on a good day?
If that, and Western states. You're looking at potential temperatures way over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a completely different world.
A massive hurdle. So here's where it gets really interesting, how he's tackling that.
It's pretty intense. So what he does is he gets his home gym, cranks the heat up to 110 Fahrenheit. That's 45 Celsius. And for 10 weeks straight, he does 3 long sessions, like 2 to 3 hours each, every week in that heat.
Indoors.
Indoors. And get this, he wears waterproof clothing.
To make it even worse.
Exactly. To stop any natural cooling from sweat evaporating, it forces his body to really, really adapt. And he tracks everything.
Like what?
Oh, core temperature, obviously. Sweat rate. Even the sodium concentration in his sweat, he's measuring electrolyte loss, trying to head off cramping and stuff like that.
That's meticulous. Just incredibly strategic, if brutal sounding.
It's data-driven adaptation at its peak, really.
Okay, so moving from heat to like the core of his training week, he talks about going on feel, but there's clearly a structure.
He says main basis on feel, but then you look at the numbers and there's a very clear pattern. He puts a huge emphasis on long, slow runs, building that aerobic base.
Right, like a dedicated period for it.
Yep, about 3 to 4 months just focused on that aerobic base. And here's the really surprising statistic. Around 80%, 80% of his training time is spent in zone 1.
80%. In zone 1, that's basically recovery pace, isn't it?
Pretty much. His recovery heart rate zone, he uses, I think, a Coros watch and a heart rate monitor, obviously tracking average heart rate, but also this thing called effort pace.
Effort pace.
Adjusts for hills, terrain, kind of gives a truer sense of actual effort, not just speed over ground.
Okay, so 80% slow, easy effort. That just seems so different.
It does, especially compared to how he races, which is more zones 2 and 3. But it really highlights how crucial that massive low-intensity base is for, running 100 miles. It's the foundation.
It really flips that whole no pain, no gain idea, doesn't it?
Completely. It's about sustainable effort.
So how does this square with the data focus? He says feel, but we just heard about sweat sodium concentration.
Right, it's a balance. He emphasizes that he trains mainly based on feel, but he uses the data strategically. He says it helps him see where the problem can be if things feel off, if he's not responding well.
Ah, okay. So data isn't driving every session. It's more like a diagnostic tool.
Exactly. It's not about just drowning in numbers. It's about using specific metrics for specific goals. Like for altitude training, he'll look at blood oxygen, heart rate variability, the HRV metric.
Right, recovery and adaptation signals.
Precisely. And for neuromuscular stuff like running efficiency, he finds things like cadence, stride length, ground contact time. Those are useful. Targeted data for targeted results.
That makes a lot more sense, not just data for data's sake. So it all kind of ties back to this longer-term view he seems to have.
Definitely. His main advice really boils down to patience. He says, be patient for the long game. Adaptations come over years of consistent stimuli.
Years, not just weeks or months.
Years. And then he adds, so do something that is sustainable and enjoyable for you, which sounds simple, but it's key.
And you see that in his life, right?
Yeah.
He's got 2 kids now, co-founded a shoe brand. Training has to fit in.
It has to be adaptable. It shows that even at the elite level, it's not about some rigid, impossible schedule. It's about finding ways to get that consistent stimulus in year after year in a way that works with your life. Sustainability is everything.
Okay, so let's recap the big takeaways here. You've got the intense strategic heat training.
The data-driven heat exposure.
Then the massive focus on zone 1, like 80%, for building that huge aerobic base.
The low-intensity foundation.
Then using data, but smartly using feel as the main guide. But data as a diagnostic tool.
Targeted data, not just noise.
And underpinning it all, patience, consistency, sustainability, the long game.
Exactly. It's a really coherent philosophy.
It really is. So maybe the final thought for you listening is, how can you take that philosophy, that idea of patience, the long game, consistent stimuli? How does that apply to your big goals, whether that's running or work or anything else? What does it mean to operate mainly on feel, but use data smartly to figure out problems?
Something to definitely think about, how to balance that intuition with the numbers.